What's up, everybody? You are listening to the What Now podcast, where we discuss ways of effectively addressing life's most difficult moments. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the What Now podcast. That's right, the What Now podcast, where we discuss effective ways of facing life's most defining moments. That's right. You already know, if you watch from the beginning, you know that we used to, as the intro says, call those moments, what do we say? Difficult moments. But we learned and matured along our journey and understood that we had the right, the authority, and the responsibility. And that word responsibility hits different when it comes to our life. But we have the responsibility to make sure that we define moments and not allow ourselves to be defined by moments. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I am your trusted voice of transformation. I teach creators how to transform their lives through embracing the entirety of their best self. Listen, y'all, tonight is bittersweet. I'm excited to be with you. I'm excited about our guests being back with us on tonight. Yet it is our last show, guys. It is our last show. But if you've already listened, you know that does not mean that we are ending podcasting. We're just taking it in a new direction. So this is the last show of the What Now podcast. And it's also the 100th episode of the What Now podcast, which is amazing to me because if you've heard me talk about it before, I only started this podcast because I had writer's block for a book that I was writing. My therapist told me, instead of writing, how about you turn the camera on and just start talking? I just started talking and it evolved and developed into this. And in the beginning, I wasn't going to have any guest on the show. It was just going to be me talking, coming live when I felt like coming live, when I needed to get something off my chest, when I needed to just say some of the things that I wanted to put in the book. And now it has evolved into a diverse platform where you've had the opportunity to hear from various voices from all walks of life, yo. If you are a human being and you've listened to the show, at least one of the guests you were able to connect with and relate to. And I know that it was more than one of the guests. So I'm excited about tonight. It is still Pride Month. We want to make sure that we are continuing to celebrate Pride Month. As I continue to say, make sure that if you are not educated concerning the history of Pride, get educated concerning it. And then also just make sure you are celebrating you and celebrating everybody else. Sometimes you don't know how hard it is to be yourself. I heard an actor, one of the things, I was talking to an actor and I asked him, I said, what's the hardest role you ever played? And he said, himself. And that was so profound to me because the reality is that sometimes it's not as easy as it may seem to be ourselves. All right, let's do our breathing exercises. Then I'm going to get on out the way. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Breathe out. One more time. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Breathe out. Now, if you were able to complete the exercise with me, then that means that you are yet alive. And as long as you're alive, there is purpose in your life. Do you hear what I'm saying? You were created for, with, and by purpose. So therefore, if you can still breathe in and out, there's purpose remaining in your body. And then here's what it also did. It grounded you. It brought you present. It caused you to go get the energy that you keep giving to that past, the energy that you have devoted to a future. It caused you to merge it with the energy of your present. It created synergy, and that synergy that it created is you. And because we have you here as your best self, you can take advantage of everything that is before you on today. We're not going to waste any more moments. We're not going to waste any more time. We are going to take advantage of everything that is placed for us, and we are going to live our best life. All right, let's get to our guests after the show, guys. Also, those who are listening live, I encourage you to listen to the replay as well, because I have a special attachment to the show that will not air live, but I will be talking about our new podcast, after the show. But I don't want to talk about that now because I want you present. Now, I know some of you, we didn't get the live crowd. The BET Awards are tonight. That's okay. It still has the same effect with the replay, all right? So listen, without further ado, I want to bring our guest to the stage. He has been here many times now. Matter of fact, he's not even a guest. He's an honorary co-host here on the What Now podcast. He hit me up. He wanted to talk about love. He wanted to talk about our own journeys. He wanted to talk about various things that really can help during this month and as we ease into a new month in our lives or ease into a new season in our lives. I don't know where everybody is in their lives, but what he wants to talk about, I feel, is very, very important. So I want you guys to hold on as we bring Darius Lavale to the stage. Darius, how are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited about this conversation. Just from your excitement about wanting to talk about these subjects really brought an excitement to me as well. And I realized when you were talking about it, that sometimes we can be successful in some areas of our life and not tread in certain areas of our life where we could have success as well. So I'm excited to talk about this because I feel like sometimes we get distracted by certain areas and we don't allow ourselves to freely be ourselves completely in all areas of our lives.
Most definitely.
So I leaned into it a little bit about what you wanted to talk about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just start going. Then I'll jump in and we will continue the conversation.
Got you. So, if people are familiar with me on the show, or even for people that actually follow me, um, I've talked about my past, and it's always been a dark discussion. And it was a needed discussion because it was a way to not necessarily explain to people, but give people more of an understanding outside of themselves what it is to be human and what other people go through and why people sometimes can make the decisions that they go through. Um, this time around, I wanted to do something more, more in a light phase, in a light way, in a bring some joy to everything that's really going on in this world right now. And I'm in a different place in my life right now. I can actually say I have found peace of mind. I found peace in where I am in this world right now. No matter what chaos or issues or obstacles or challenges may be in front of me, I've found a way to hold on to my sanity, hold on to my hope, hold on to my faith and my determination in the midst of change. And I feel like people not only need to hear the sad parts or the angry parts, but within our journey, people who are following the journey see the different areas of growth. And now that I'm out of the sadness and the darkness, I'm in a place of light. I want to talk about the light and how it feels and how I plan on trying to maintain it um and what works for me, and always open to suggestions and hearing other people's stories about what works for them. So that's what I wanted to kind of talk about today. Um Love, talk about success in education and in this world, but also the success within me and the growth within me. And that's a way that I can speak it so I can hear it, acknowledge it, and pat myself on the back. Because at the end of the day, that validation is the only validation that I need.
You said a mouthful, man. You said a mouthful. I've written down some notes because I really want to hit some of these things that you said. The first thing you said that really stood out to me was you were talking about your past and you said about it being dark, and you have really focused on the darkness of it. But you said something after it was dark, but it was needed. When you take a stance of it was dark, but it was needed, doesn't that change your perspective as well about everything that happened?
Most definitely. Um, it took, and we said this before, I had to be everything that I wasn't to find who I was. And all of these challenges, obstacles, pain, hurt that I've gone through, that I held on to even after the fact of it not happening anymore, was needed, because what it did was it pulled certain characteristics out of me that were needed for me to grow, that were needed for me to understand myself, that was needed for me to know what boundaries I had to put in place for Darius. It couldn't be the boundaries that my mom wanted them to be, or what the world wanted them to be for me, or anyone else that suggested things. I had to find my way. And a lot of that, in essence, certain things are not for me, and maybe I use them for validation reasons, or to feel important or feel needed. And one of those things for me is social media. And in the height of my porn career, and the height of me escorting, and the height of me trying to be a public figure, um social media was very needed. But I also, there was a side of social media that was causing me a lot of pain. That was me looking at other people's lives and comparing them to myself, when we all know that we all, in a sense, exaggerate our social medias to glorify ourselves. But there are a few that actually show the real sides of themselves. And those are those vulnerable people. And a lot of people don't want to feel vulnerable, because a lot of people don't want to be judged. But I discovered social media at this point is not for me. And it's it's almost as if we are addicted to it. And to go a day or 2 days without our phones, or without using it, we start feeling like we're missing out on something, or a part of us is missing. And then we don't know what to do with ourselves in that time, with that time that once was devoted to social media. But I went through this whole, I call it, alone phase, where I separated from friends, I separated from past careers. I got older. I wasn't that guy that wanted to be on dating apps like Jack or Grinder, wanting to, have sex with different people. That started not fulfilling me. And I went through this phase of having to be by myself, especially with the pandemic happening. It forced a lot of us to have to do it. And I fought against it. I hated it. I cried many a night. But sooner or later, as I kept holding on and realizing that I can't keep running back to those old things because there's no fulfillment, how was Darius going to fulfill himself now? And that's where the rediscovery came in. And that's when I started finding things to replace the guys, the sex, the drugs, all with something that bettered me in any kind of way, whether if it was spirituality, whether it's the gym. I devoted those things in place of those other things that no longer gave me fulfillment. And I started to see the determination that I had, the strength that I had, the courage that I had, which then motivated me to want to do more. And throughout this process, I started learning what it means to love myself. So learning to love myself is not always saying yes to everything that my flesh wants, not everything my eyes see and may want, but learning how to tell myself no, because this thing will lead to this thing, which will lead to this thing. Why? Because I've replayed this and went through it over and over and over and over again to know what the outcome is going to be. And that's the hardest thing, telling yourself no from something that you're craving or you're desiring. And then here comes the emotion and the fear and the emptiness, because you're not giving yourself those things. But once you go through that motion, you start realizing how strong you are and how you can say no. And all of this, what this has done for me is taught me a part of myself that I never knew, because I had never been alone and allowed myself to go through the motion. And once I started to navigate through that, all of a sudden the universe starts handing you things. And the first thing that arrived to me was something I've never experienced, and I finally found I finally fell in love. And that was something I didn't think was still an option for me at 40 years old, or that I would even have the strength or the courage to want to go through the chance of getting hurt again. And also going through those things and learning what loving myself meant, all the people before him or during the time that I met him, all were offering me certain things. And the old me would have just stuck to the basic formula that we all give ourselves for a desired mate. And I've learned from the past, it can't just be about your look. I've also learned in the past that there has to be a common goal, a common idea, a common thought. And I was able to recognize these things in him because I had finally discovered it in myself.
That last thing right there. Now you said a lot again. I wrote a lot down, but you said I was able to discover it in him because I finally discovered it in myself. And I think that that's the space that a lot of people have yet to get to, because for so long we've been taught that we continue to look externally for things that we want, things that we desire, things to fulfill us. I talk a lot about success versus fulfillment. And I believe that a lot of times we don't experience fulfillment because we're always looking to be fulfilled externally versus being fulfilled internally first. So that I like that. I like that. I like that. Now, you talked about, this is before, in the beginning, you said something I want to go back to. You said you found peace of mind. You found peace of mind. What does peace of mind not just look like for Darius, but what is peace of mind for you? How would you explain that to somebody?
So peace of mind for me is, no matter what is going on around me or with whoever around me, I'm only responsible and I only have control over one thing, and that's me. All this other stuff outside of me, be it other people, be it the weather, be it traffic, any of that stuff, I don't have any control. And it's so easy to get your day messed up, your mood messed up, it all because of the things that you have no control over. And once I started realizing that I could be surrounded by chaos, but be without chaos within my mind, to be reassuring within myself that whatever this is going on, I'm going to get through it. How do I know that? I've gotten through everything else. So me crying, me getting upset, me acting on those emotions, whether it's to beat up somebody, cut somebody out, whatever the case may be, which then can lead to this happening, then that happening, then that happening. To avoid it all, I know I still have no control over all of this that's happening. But if I have control over this and I maintain this and I take it for what it is, see, the whole thing is the difference between knowing what reality is and what we may want reality to be. So once I started accepting reality, then I knew what the terms were or how I can work what's going on and what I wanted with the reality of things. See, if you think that the sky is green and that, you know, people or this type of way, and all. When you start labeling that thing, you limit yourself to the actual options and solutions that really coincide with your reality. And if you keep, for me, if I would have just kept holding on to this this fake world, or this want of what I want this world to be to me, I would always be disappointed. I would always settle for less. And that wasn't working for me. I always say this. I don't think that me doing porn was a bad thing, but I do feel like it made things more challenging. But because of those challenges, it makes me sort of more of a warrior. And I now have a set of skills that I can apply to doing better things with. So instead of concentrating and looking at all of the negative things, let me find some positive out of it. Because what we don't know is there is good and bad. It's just what we choose to focus on within something happening. Whether it was the breakup, oh, I'm gonna miss this person, and I'm gonna miss the sex, and I'm gonna miss the attention, but I'm not gonna miss the crying nights and the arguments and the depression. I'm gonna look at what it gave me that's going to lead me into my success. And it's all about that choice. Once you start agreeing, once you start agreeing to what it is that's best for you, and how do you find out what's best for you? You have to rediscover yourself. How do you rediscover yourself? Everything that was of you, you say no to, and you leave it in the past. I had a bad tendency of bringing the past still into my future. Whether it was all those guys that I just held on to for years that I thought were cute, and they may have thought I was cute, and I'm like, well, one day they'll see me. One day they'll make their move. I'll just wait. So I got this one here, and this one here, and this one here, and I'm just waiting for one of them to get it right or see me. But it was never working. And all it kept doing was enforcing insecurities within myself. So once I got to the place of saying no to these fools, it made room for somebody new to come in and for me to see him and recognize him. Because I could have still been caught up on these dudes that weren't fulfilling me or making me feel great. If I would have still been focusing on them and waiting for it to happen over here, I would have never saw it happen here. And I then started evaluating all those bad relationships, and all it was all needed. It was all needed because now I know what to look for and what not to look for. And now I know what I deserve and what I don't deserve. And now I know, how to efficiently communicate, because not only did I have to stop looking at everything wrong they did, I had to start looking at what I did. And when you constantly keep dating different people and we don't realize it's the same script, but it's a different cast. You're probably still going for the same type of person, but you're thinking it's a different experience because it's a new person. No, it's the same script, but it's just a different person coming in their place. And once you start realizing that it's not them because they're doing exactly what they've been doing, it's you and the choices that you're making. And I had to learn to start saying no. And me saying no meant a lot of nights by myself, a lot of nights horny, a lot of nights, feeling empty. But I started putting myself and giving myself the things that it needed to kind of aid or make the emptiness not so shallow and hard for me. And it took me getting up 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, going straight to the gym and pushing myself in those kind of ways. And believe me, I can see the changes in my life because life itself didn't change because life is still happening. My perception changed.
Life itself didn't change, my perception changed. And I think that if a lot of us could learn to focus on our perception versus life changing, we'll begin to see those changes that we desire and, more importantly, that we need. You talked about the self-love component, and I think that you hit one of the most important things about self-love that sometimes is not talked about. And you talked about learning to tell yourself no. And I really believe that you really have to get to that space where you're willing to tell yourself no and follow through with that no for self-love to really be able to manifest in your life. I think that sometimes we have taken self-love and made it butterflies and rainbows and not seen the side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we prettied it up so well that we don't realize that there is a time that we have to tell ourselves no, because we just haven't been serving ourselves very well. You said
Right.
something else that I really want you to hit on too, because, and then we're going to talk about relationships, all right? But you said labels limit. Labels limit. Can you talk about that just a little bit more? Because there's a lot of people that have put labels on themselves, labels on circumstances and situations, labels on people they thought they were in a relationship with, and those labels have limited their ability to discover or rediscover who they are.
So for me, once I start realizing that I don't have to be that guy that has to have an OnlyFans. I get tempted with that all the time. You know, people are making great money from it. Um, you know, people are being able to be creative and you know, those things. And, you know, from my past, everybody always asks me, do I have one? But that's not who I am anymore. And again, if I kept that label that I'm just worth what I look like and how I can make a man or female feel good in a certain way, I'm doing myself injustice. And I have so many other parts of me outside of that, which is just physical, that are even greater. And once I stop accepting what others have put me, the categories that other people have put me in, and started realizing there's just so much more to me, then saying no and telling myself no, and actually giving myself the opportunity to explore. And the thing is, we are not always going to be, people get comfortable because, yeah, this is working, but that's not always going to work for you unless you like the chaos and the drama that comes associated with something just being replayed over and over. But for me to separate from that and realize that there are so many other departments to this world, there's so many other ways that I can build myself, and it doesn't have to look this way or that way. See, we weren't all put here to be the same person, to go about life the same way. Once you realize that, and you realize that you were put here uniquely to do this life in the way that only in the way that you can do it, then you will be able to push yourself beyond what you think you can do or what someone else said that you can do. And at the end of the day, yes, there are so many other people that have this and have that, and everybody wants to chase the bag. And but at the end of the day, that's not going to last. Everything is always changing and evolving. And once you realize that part, that you have no control over any of that, you like, I already realized I ain't gonna be the most relevant person in the world. These new youngins are coming in and it's their time. I had to realize that and accept that and find my place in the now. And, you know, all of that came from telling myself no to that same old shit. The porn people coming and, oh, you want to do work for the white companies now. That's where the money is. But you know what? I already been there and I done that. And I saw where that got me. No, you know, and let somebody else go through that experience and be successful in the way that I couldn't do, and I'll give them that. But it's time to find my success in another way. And all that means is that's a gold medal I earned in this area. And now it's time to move on to a different sport and earn another medal. So,
See, that ties right in with the new podcast. The new podcast is called Multidimensional Intelligence. And the reason why I call it that is because a lot of times we label intelligence in one dimension. We look at it as somebody that's book smart. We don't realize that we have the ability to be intelligent within ourselves our own way. As one of my friends, Elliot
Right.
Carlisle, says, we have that divine intelligence. So my next podcast, my goal is to get as many people as possible to tap into what you just said. You know, I got to do this my own way, and I'm bigger than what I have limited myself to. So when you said that, that's why I had to bring up the new podcast, because it was like, yo, that's what it is. That's the message that I'm trying to get people to get across to people, is that some of the things that you have belittled yourself about, or some of the things you haven't allowed yourself to explore and try out, is where your intelligence lies. So I like that. And then you said something earlier about you had to find your way, and you had to find out your own personal, I think you said, boundaries. You couldn't have mama's boundaries. You couldn't have your friends' boundaries. You couldn't have other people. You had to set your own boundaries in life. Can you talk about that as well? Because I think a lot of people stay stuck because they're trying to live in with other people's belief systems. So there's an inward battle going on. What they internally believe and what they believe for themselves is battling with the stress to try to live the life that everybody else expects them to live. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So well, I would love to think that I could be one of those people that can just do what I want, just like everybody else does, in my opinion. But I can't be a drug user. I like the way, and this is just being completely honest. I like the way certain drugs make me feel, but I don't like the way that, or the things that, the consequences that I have to pay outside of that. And for me, knowing that about myself, that's how I had to start telling myself no to that. I can't be that person, even though I want to be that guy that's okay with open relationships, or that guy that's okay with sleeping with random people and not being emotionally connected. Yeah, I want to be that person, but that's not who I am, because there are consequences that I pay for after doing those things. And I don't like the way that I feel afterwards. And I started those lessons that we learn, or the consequences that we have to pay for certain decisions, that you can look out and see everybody else doing the same shit, but it's just like, well, damn, it works for them. How come they can do it? Because it wasn't supposed to be that way for you. Your journey is specific. Your purpose is specific. The design for your life and how you're supposed to overcome and inspire, motivate people is specifically designed for you. And it can't work the way that it works for Tom, Henry, Bob, Paul, and any of those people. And it's okay. I had to tell myself, it's okay. I don't get as many likes as a lot of the other guys, or I don't have a lot of followers, because at the end of the day, that's not where my success lies in. And I have to be okay with that. And, I shouldn't have to put myself and push myself further. Well, you know what? Maybe I need to start taking pictures with my ass out now, or things of that nature, to to be something that I wasn't supposed to be. And it's okay. And the reason you may not sometimes feel that's okay is because if I don't do that, what am I going to do now? Who am I now? Well, it's okay not to know who you are now. And that's why, like, for me, after this podcast is done, I'm going to take me a long break from social media. And that's because I love myself enough to know that I need more time where those things are still have a certain place, to mature more, to work on my body more, my mind more, and to make sure that the relationship that I'm in right now succeeds. And that's more important to me than some likes, social media, comments, any of that stuff. I don't need that stuff anymore. And I feel that when I started learning the boundaries that I needed for Darius, I need my space. I need my time for me. I need to if I'm gonna take pictures, I need to take pictures for myself and not for the attention for everybody else. So these boundaries which I have discovered along the way, now I kind of have a formula. And now I'm ready to do this whole thing over again, but now I'm going to do it in a way that was different from the last time that I did it. And I feel like I've got enough knowledge to make sure that whatever is about to happen moving forward will be successful.
Man, well said. Your journey is specific. If we can grab hold of that and understand that, then we can begin to navigate life the way that we desire to navigate life and the way that we were meant to navigate life. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So now you've been talking about relationships. You've been throwing that out there. You've been talking about the Bay. You've been talking about him the whole time. All right. So now let's go there because I heard you say, being in your 40s, you thought that, hey, this might not be an option for me. I see so many young people. I think I read the other day, somebody was like 25 years old and had that same mindset. What do you say to those that have that mindset that there's no hope, no way, no how? It sounds good for you, but it just ain't going to happen for me. How did that paradigm shift take place for you?
Well, I feel like this you'll never find it if you give up on it. And if you get frustrated in the timing that in your timing of things, because again, there's only certain things you're in control over, and we're not in control over time. And you know, if you give up on it because of all the bad experiences you've had, well, those bad experiences honestly are because of the choices that you made. It ain't because of the bad guys you were dating, because we all got bad in us. But at the end of the day, if you just stop, you're giving up on what could be because you don't know what was waiting down the line for tomorrow, who you were going to run into. But yeah, sometimes we do need to take a break. Sometimes you do need to figure out what I did wrong the last time. You need to heal. You need to be able to breathe. But I see a large, to be honest with you, I do see a large effect of people not wanting intimacy, not wanting relationships, wanting to be able to be free. Oh, we weren't supposed to be monogamous. And I get that. We're not all the same. But don't let your bad experiences change what you want and who you are at your core. Because that's never going to change. And at the end of the day, I'm like, approaching, being 40, and it's like, well, damn, I wanted kids and I don't want to be an old dad. But you know what? There are people who do this shit all the time. It may not have went in the timely manner, but maybe that was for a real good reason. Maybe I needed to have gone through a lot of the stupid shit so that I can break the generational curses and I can be a better parent. Not to say I didn't have a great parent. I had a wonderful parent, but my mom also had, you to deal with a lot at her age having a kid. So, I don't and I see how that affected me. And it's me feeling in the way I look at it now, I'm glad I've gotten all my craziness out there and I've slowed down. And one thing I never wanted to do was bring a family and have kids and I'm still on drugs. Like, I don't want my children to have to pay for my demons. So, with that being said, whatever age God blesses me with the things that I've always desired in my heart, when it does happen, you would truly, truly, truly be appreciative and say thank you, and there will be gratitude because you got it. But if I would have gave up on it, I wouldn't be able to experience it and know what it is, and that would only be my fault.
So true, so true. And I've found with a lot of people because I have friends that, into poly and all of that, and to each their own. That's why I tell everybody to each their own. But I also tell people, make sure You said it. I said, make sure that that is you at your core. That's not your pain talking. That's
Right.
not your frustration talking. That's just not you. Ain't no other man gonna hurt me. Ain't no other woman gonna hurt me. Ain't nobody gonna ever hurt me again. Make sure that that is you at your core. If that's you at your core, I can rock with it. But don't don't shortchange yourself just because you are afraid or just because you think I might get hurt again. But you said something right in the midst of it too, that we have to start taking responsibility for our choices. Our choices, our choices. I coach a lot of people, and sometimes people come in with the mindset, well, they made me do this and they made me. Nah, hold on, let's pause for a minute. You're here. So I want to hear about your choices and what got you to where you are now. Because like you said about being self-aware, as long as we're not self-aware and not owning it ourselves, then, we can't live that life, that fulfilling life. So yeah, this is what's up. Okay. And I see the change in language again. I told you the last time I saw a change in language, but I even see the change in language from the last time to this time. So that's what's up. That's what's up. And I see, even with the change in posting and you being in the relationship, I think that's great for people to see that as well, because we need examples of that as well too, that look different, that look diverse, that look different, and then people can see, oh, okay, there's hope there's hope there. So let's talk about what's going on with you now. You said that you're going to take a break, which is great. I took one the month of March. You're going to take a break just to continue to make sure that you are working on your relationship. What do you have planned as far as, from a professional standpoint, creative standpoint, after the break, during the break, any content we're going to begin to see, anything like that?
Well, there's still, for me, working on a YouTube channel. Um, that's still in the works. Um, but I definitely at some point want to get back into acting, and because that is my passion. So definitely want to get back to a place of acting. I just wanted to get this body right. So because I know what the competition looks like. So but outside of that, I want to get into motivational speaking as well. Because I have that in me, and I think that's where my ministry comes in. But using all of it to give glory to God and to show people that change is possible. I don't have any kind of unrealistic or big expectations anymore with my life. It used to be, oh, I was going to be a superstar and I was going to be a supermodel and I was going to be this big time actor. But I also know things could change, and maybe that's not where I'm supposed to be. But for me to find it is going to really take me making sure that I'm well put together mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and that I have the time and space and room in my life to devote to those things. Um, I used to take on a lot at one time and try to do everything I understand, which then it results, which resulted in me not completing things and not finishing things, and then being totally upset at myself for it. But I want to stop and enjoy the moments that I'm in, and I also want to stop with the expectation of it having to look a certain way, and I want to be okay with living a quiet life. Um, I used to think that the popularity and the fame and stuff was what I really wanted, but I didn't like the things that came from it. And now I can appreciate my quiet times, the privacy now that I have, and I'm not in the blogs anymore, and people saying horrible, cruel things about me that don't know me. I am glad I'm done with that stuff. I'm glad I'm off Jack, and people, I don't have to constantly go through people thinking they've met me because they met a person that was using my pictures, and like I'm glad I don't have to go through that stuff. I'm glad I'm not out there on them drugs, having promiscuous sex, always going to the clinic because I don't got burnt. Like that shit right there. Like I'm glad I've moved from that phase. And I hate that I had to be hard headed to go through it, but I can definitely appreciate it now. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that. And again, the most important thing for me right now moving forward is my peace and maintaining my peace. And we don't know again what's going to go on with, with the country as far as because of the pandemic and financially and, everything's always up in the air with that stuff. So I'm also being realistic to what could actually happen, what might not actually happen. But if I'm okay in here, I can handle any of that stuff. And as long as I have a good, well put out plan, which involves me bettering myself in all areas, I'm going to be fine. So I would like to say that I'm going to come out with some acting projects. Who knows? We'll see. But that'll happen if it happens, and if it don't, it'll be something else. So just know that when you guys see me again, I will be a better version of myself than what I am now.
That part right there, I mean, nothing else left to be said. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post all of our conversations. I mean, we had them on Transformation Radio and on the What Now podcast because I want everybody to hear you back then, a little while ago, a couple months ago, and then now, so that they can understand that even with their own evolution that they're experiencing in their life, that it's okay to experience every single part of it and to grow as you're experiencing every part of it. So, Darius, I want to thank you again for joining us on tonight, for coming and sharing so freely. I was happy to hear you say, talking about getting into some type of motivational speaking because people need raw truth. I mean, people pretty it up enough, but when you come, you don't come to pretty it up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to tell the whole truth because people need to hear that because it's things that people go through in silence that they're ashamed of. And everybody's up on the stage acting as if, no, I've never been there. I've never been there. And we lose those people. So having people in that space like yourself that's going to freely just throw it all out here on the table and, dissect it as you're throwing it out on the table is great. So thank you again, man.
And
Go ahead.
Just one little thing, and
Go ahead.
it gets better if you hold on, if you keep getting up every time you fall, it gets better. Just probably not in the time you want it to, but it gets better. And if you give up now, you're giving up on those things because you may not think that it exists, but they do. But you'll never know until you just keep going. And at the end of the day, we all have imperfections, we all have insecurities, all that stuff. But if you have a desire to change it, change it. Push yourself. Keep going. Get back up. Love yourself. No matter who you are, where you come from, what walk of life, no one is better than you because there's only one you. There's just other people that know how to do things differently than you, but that doesn't mean they're better than you. And always remember, you have a place in this world. You have something big to do. You have to hold on to that because that's what makes all this shit we go through worth going through.
Man, listen. But before we go here, I do want you to talk too. What does pride mean to you? I didn't ask you that throughout the conversation, but I think that's a very important question to ask as well. What does pride mean to you?
Pride means to me loving myself regardless of what anybody else thinks, regardless of support or no support. Being proud of who I am and where I come from and where I'm going, because there is only one me. And there's nothing wrong with me being who I am, because this is how I was made.
That's what's up. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to give the people, I know you said you're taking a break from social media, but how they can connect with you on social media as well, because you done preach for this time, and, you know, they might want to book you for an event or for a service or something. But real talk, though, I want you to give that to them so that they can continue to follow your journey. And then if there are people that are out there that have events and want to book you, they hear your story, they want to book you, I want you to give them that information.
Well, this old man right here only has a Instagram these days, which really doesn't have a lot on there, because we rebranding. But you can definitely follow me on Instagram. Is Icon Darius Lavale. That's ICON DARIUS LAVALE. Or if you're interested in bookings, you can email me at DariusLavalebookings with an S @gmail.com. And over time, as I won't be clearly just like gone. I'll post little updates here and there, but I'm just excited about what's about to happen to me next. This body transformation, like all that good stuff. Like I'm happy how far I've gotten, and if I got this far, I'm excited to see where it's about to go next.
All right. Like I say, y'all, follow him. Support everything he has going on. Support him. If you're out there, book him. Do whatever you have to do. Help him get his story out there so that others can hear his story. All right. Listen, it's been real. I had a brain freeze. It's been real. I literally had a brain freeze there. It's been real with all of you that have listened to the What Now podcast. I appreciate y'all. You've listened all the way in France. I don't even know who this listener is. If you're listening, you listen in France. You listen to every episode. It's the same person over and over again. I want you to email me. I want to send you something because you have been one of our major supporters overseas. I want you to email me at info@cliftonpettyjohn.com. All of the rest of you, I appreciate you. I appreciate you staying with us through this journey. Don't forget, stay connected. Do not unsubscribe from the podcast because it's going to be using the same RSS feed for the new podcast. It's launching August the 1st. I have some great guests lined up. And like I said, at the end of this episode, you're going to hear a little bit about the podcast. As I always say, create a great day, walk with purpose, and by all means, execute your vision. Peace. Yo, how many of y'all have really been blessed by the podcast? And I'm going to ask a specific question by Darius's story. If you followed us all the way back to Transformation Radio, where we transform lives through purposeful conversations, then you remember the two-part conversation we had. And I remember, I think it was even a part where he broke down, crying from unpacking all of that stuff. Then he came on the What Now podcast. And I think he's been on here 3 times. He came on here. And if you see the change in language, if you see the change in mentality, if you see the shift of his paradigm, you really could be blessed by that young man's story. This is why I will always and forever create safe spaces for people to have transformative conversations, regardless of how uncomfortable and unpopular those conversations are. Why? Because sometimes the conversation is needed for you to free yourself. Sometimes it's not a dance. Sometimes it's not a religious experience. Sometimes it's a conversation. So make sure you do not run from the conversation. Hey, what's up, everybody? I just finished recording our 100th episode of the What Now podcast, and actually the finale of the What Now podcast. I know it sounds sad, kind of bittersweet. I'm not going to be able to say, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the What Now podcast anymore. However, we have decided that it is time for us to shift the message of our podcast. When I started the What Now podcast, I know you're probably saying I'm tired of hearing you tell the story. It was a conversation with my therapist, writing a book, writer's block, boom, here we go, podcast. We framed the entire podcast around the question, what now? Or around a question. But the reality is that we have come to an understanding that we are not the question. We don't have to ask the question. We are the answer, and we show up as the solution. Therefore, we want to reposition ourselves as a podcast. So, beginning August 1st, I will launch an entirely new podcast. Now, those of you that are currently subscribed to the What Now podcast, you don't have to do anything. We're going to be using the same RSS feed. We're going to be broadcasting the podcast on my YouTube channel. So you're already subscribed. You're locked in. All right. But I encourage you to share the feeds with other people and encourage them to get locked in as well. Encourage them to subscribe. The new name of the podcast is Multi-Dimensional Intelligence. Multi-dimensional intelligence. And the reason why I named it multi-dimensional intelligence is because many times we lock transformation and intelligence into one dimension. Let's talk about intelligence, because a lot of us also struggle with the reality that we are intelligent. One of the definitions of intelligence means to acquire information, okay? To understand that information, and then to apply that information. If you follow those 3 steps, you have displayed intelligence, okay? That's simplifying intelligence for you. But the thing about intelligence is, intelligence sometimes is not simple. We have been programmed to only recognize one dimension of intelligence. That's book smart. You know, we all grew up, person in the class got the highest grade. Sometimes you were the person in the class that got the highest grade. You messed up the curve for everybody who was expecting for the assignment, the test, whatever it is, to be graded on the curve. Because of you, you messed the curve up. I messed the curve up sometimes, and I'm sure others of you have messed the curve up. But some of us have also struggled with displaying our intelligence because we're taught to disrespect our intelligence because it does not manifest in a way that has been deemed as normal. Well, I'm gathering together some of our top world leaders, some of our top creators from around the world that have tapped into, as Elliot Carlisle says, my brother, he says their divine intelligence. I call it that inner intelligence that's attached to your DNA. It's just attached to who you are. They've tapped into it, and now they are living their life through that intelligence. I'm bringing them on so that we can have conversations, so that it can ignite in you your multidimensional intelligence. You won't find yourself comparing yourself to anyone anymore. You won't find yourself contradicting what your core is telling you. Thank you, Michael Weston. You won't find yourself standing still, looking, trying to wonder, what now? What's next? Why is this happening? You will be able to tap into that intelligence and begin to trust yourself to answer yourself. I know a lot of people struggle with that. We're going to talk about that on the podcast. I'm going to end this right now. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you are subscribed, stay connected and stay tuned for what we have in store for you starting on August 1st. Create a great day. walk with purpose, and by all means, execute your vision. Peace.